I don't know if it's because I ate a lot of vegan food or if it's because my dad had visited, but I'm in a sentimental mood late Monday night when I'm writing this. I feel very bittersweet as I found an old group chat from 5 years ago featuring pictures and a music chart that I had gifted my sister. The music holds up surprisingly well, and the themes of the chart are coherent. My favorite picks are Infinity Crush's Warmth Equation and I Am Robot and Proud's The Electricity in Your House Wants to Sing. What really shook me was how little my personality had changed. I still think the album selection is solid, albeit a little derivative. I'm going to sound very pathetic, but I think it's because looking back, I would have thought that I had accomplished more at this point in my life, that I would have changed so drastically that I'm unrecognizable. But I still see myself in the guy who made this chart. I have a lot to be grateful for. I have friends with whom I won't hesitate to ask for help. I have a loving family whom I could always depend on to talk to. I attend an institution that has the development of my character first and foremost in its mind. I am able to access not only basic needs such as food, shelter, and clothes, but also to the largest repository of information in civilization's history. I could self actualize through the internet. All of these, I believe, I already mostly had 5 years ago. But today, I recognize their places in my life more clearly. I speak to my family more lovingly. I contact my friends more freely. I'm more open to asking for help when I need it. These challenges in my character did not happen overnight, but were effects of hard-learned lessons over the half decade since these photographs had been sent in the group chat. What had changed was my attitude towards my goals. No longer had I been so interested in chasing after things like status or influence as much as I would deny it. But I am learning to better appreciate what I already have with me. Mia 5 years ago felt much fear about going out into the world and experiencing true love. But what to an outsider may register as social anxiety or profound low self-esteem was simply a deep misconception about the nature of other people, I think. I held a distorted view of how to interact with the world's grandeur. I felt as if I had solved the problem of beauty every time I saw my classmates solve a tough equation. I thought I couldn't possibly meet a better friendship after being invited to their debut. I felt unworthy, not because I was putting myself down, but because I was simply putting others, other people, other places, other things, to a pedestal that they didn't ask to be held up to. And looking back now, shouldn't have been held up to in the first place. I tried finding the transcendent in the worldly. I tried to find love by keeping myself at a distance, when love demands one to be closer. Love demands one to know someone closer, know someone more. I didn't see my surroundings for what they truly were, but instead was what I had wanted to be. The opposite of gratitude isn't hatred, but instead pride. One thinks of themselves too good enough to handle the real world, so they either belittle the real world or they make an imaginary world in its place. A world so ugly that you'd want to avoid it, or one so breathtakingly beautiful that you'd fear that you'd be suffocated by your love of it. I felt both at many points in my life in the past few years, daydreaming about fixing my life in other countries, then being unable to go to school because I was so shy with the guy that I wanted to be friends with. These are experiences that are brought forth from being unable to ground yourself on earth. You simply can't transcend earthly things through material things. As good as the notes on that song are, or no matter how virtuous your friends may be, they all alone could not bring you the eternal satisfaction that I had craved. And that satisfaction truly was eternal. I'd wanted to build an end or escape out of my life so profound that I transform into a wholly different person without becoming different. But the reality is that there is no true end to our story that we ourselves could post-face. At least not the type that me of 5 years ago had so desperately wanted. I wanted to rush myself to the great end, as if I had deserved this. But after trying so hard to rush everything, I've learned that this was not only ineffective but unproductive. If you're only focused on the end product in mind, you will most likely never get to it, since you've disregarded the real world factors necessary in bringing it forth to life. The idea in your head, that fantasy or daydream, is already fully formed. There's nothing to improve upon it. That is what makes it both alluring and dangerous. Without being properly grounded, we're like balloons. We just skip and twirl at night thinking about how good this imaginary world is. It's a magical thing to be happy and to be so in love with being alive sometimes. But you have to direct that happiness into the virtues and habits that do provide you sustained happiness, and not just sudden bursts of joy. These virtues and habits do not derive from things like fame or status, or even success in one's career and academics. Instead, they point to something deeper than ourselves, something ultra mundane that we could only approximate in the moments when we feel beauty in the world. So this Lent, instead of greedily trying to take in the entire world, I'm trying my best to tone down and feel the world around me as it is without the accessories. Instead of cramming everything overnight, instead sleep early and simply allocate some time in the morning. Instead of tackling a whole lot of projects at once, maybe take them one at a time. This also applies to my YouTube channel. At the start of the year, I was excited to really bring the editing and the video essays. But now I'm going back to the basics, reading books at a leisurely pace, praying the rosary, being on time with these blogs, only getting one take. It's very corny, but it's true. I'm very happy with my life. Even if the me 5 years ago would have been disappointed that I hadn't achieved as much as I could have. Could I have worked better, more efficiently, with a better strategy? Of course. But it's that attitude that first demands those questions that had put me in this situation in the first place. The more I've wanted worldly success, the more that it was out of my reach. This is my promise to steer clear of the expectations of the world and simply focus on what's important. Have a solemn Lent and pray the rosary and